everyone.
Hey.
Welcome back to the Bardic Insights One Piece live action reaction. We forgot to say that on the
after so long of not saying it,
yeah.
It's like, well, I feel like it's such a waste now.
But it was perfect.
But yes.
Anyway, welcome to, for us, episode 9.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we're going to talk about the series as a whole, talk about One Piece in general, discuss our favorite, Straw Hats, and, the episodes, from what we felt was best to, each personally felt from, best to worst. I hesitate to say worst, but, it's just the opposite end of the spectrum. Not a statement on the episode itself, necessarily. But, overall, I liked it.
Yes.
It was awesome. I'm always antsy whenever I see a live action adaptation of any anime, especially with some very infamous
just say it.
Death Note.
Yeah. Aside from Willem Dafoe, who
always a treasure. I love Willem Dafoe.
I loved him as Ryu, but that's a side point. We'll have to do that again sometimes. Review that.
Yeah.
But yes, after what seems to be, it feels like the curse of bad live adaptations of anime may finally have been lifted. I hope this is an indicator of good things to come and not just a flash in the pan, as it were. Something that I only got to really start to appreciate more, ironically today, was the day of us filming this, was I happened to be on YouTube and I heard some really cool music coming from my YouTube, and I had my mix list going. And it turned out it was stuff from the soundtrack of the live action One Piece. And it just really did give me a better appreciation for that soundtrack and scoring, which I admit I never got to comment on or really even notice during our watching. So props to the composing and the composition there.
Music is always an important part of anything. It was cool. I was so happy for that remix, or well, not remix, but cover of
cover.
the One Piece theme.
Right.
But
no rap though.
Yeah.
Still.
Gaio. No, it's hard to appreciate the music in the moment of this because it's, we're focused on seeing a live action adaptation of an anime that we love. So it's hard to notice that when you're focused on the action and the dialogue.
Yeah.
But the music, from what I recall, is great. I don't think there was a single bad casting choice in the whole.
No.
Normally, when you see stuff like this, it's like, why did they choose this person? That everyone was
looked and felt the part. Yeah.
So what we've talked about some of the acting stuff, but no one was no one was
completely out of place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it also felt like it was an even match of skill set, because I never had a moment where I went wow, so-and-so is acting circles around everybody else, or wow, this one person,
it was a nice even spread of
You know who I think was the best cast and fit their role the most and played their character the best?
Which one?
Mihawk.
Oh.
Honestly,
gosh.
I don't want to be a Mihawk fanboy here, but
yes, you do.
Everyone in
join
here,
us.
Not only did he fit the role, just with his physicality, the way he spoke and carried himself, and his physical appearance, but he played the character so accurately as well. It was still his own interpretation, and I'm not trying to insult anyone else's interpretation in here, but in terms of accuracy to the manga/anime, it's he just embodied Mihawk.
And I think with that, to have Mihawk, who a character that ultimately, we have this humor to him of a man who, his ego was more of I allow you to speak, and if you're correct, I will agree with you. As opposed to, no, my way is law. It's more of a state of being.
Yeah.
And that was very...
which is a very casual aloofness about his superiority.
And again, it's kind of funny because, of course, when he first is coming, killing time, and then to turn around, why'd you do this? You woke me from my nap. And you're almost like, either A, he's just being flippant and just being like, it doesn't matter why. Like, it could be something as superficial as, I just have a pebble in my boot, or he's telling the truth, in which case it's like, I had nothing better to do, but I'm just at that point. Which, yeah.
I rolled over in my sleep, and now you must die.
But we're gonna get so off tangent, I'm so sorry, it's funny too, because if you think about it in the manga, Mihawk would have ended One Piece in chapter 25.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Mihawk literally shows up, could easily
wiped everyone there.
Wiped everyone, end of series.
The series has only gone on this long on the whims of Mihawk.
Mihawk, because he allowed it.
If you live to see the dawn, it's because I allow it.
He basically just turned around, saw not just Zoro, but then also looks over at Luffy and is like, alright, let's see where this goes.
Realizing, that's the danger of that boy. He gets other people to want to help him.
But yeah, that being said, for favorite, since obviously I would also sit and gush on that casting. It's so easy to of course go for Inaki as Luffy because he feels. This is delicious. When he was seeing the unfurling of the
sail.
The sail. Thank you. My brain is gone. The sail. Like, I felt like that is a fanboy who is just going, oh my god, I'm getting to be
my dream is coming real.
I'm part of One Piece.
He was portraying exactly how I felt inside watching that happen.
Yeah, and it really does make me kind of go like, I wonder how many takes. How many takes, or was it just one of those like he just
nailed? I feel like that's one of those ones he nailed first take.
But to give also, of course, like, Sanji, man, like to
again, like if I had to choose like I would place out of like the casting, Sanji is either second or third in play. Like, I mean, him and Luffy, it's like hard to balance, but which I'm gonna look up the name of the gentleman cast as Sanji because the actors' names, because they deserve the recognition.
Yes. So but and again, like it's even funny because as I say this and I go, but I also loved. And then I want to add people. I go like, but I also loved actually Arlong. I mean, even like Great Bill Buggy. Even,
yes.
But that little arrogant little maneuver he gave in the last episode.
Tess Skylar is
Tess Skylar.
Oh
Tess
yes.
Skylar.
Never mind. Sorry, wrong person.
Oh yeah.
Jeff Ward is Buggy. Sorry.
Jeff Ward.
Stephen John Ward as Dracula Mihawk. Are they related?
I don't know
if they are. I don't think they are.
That's hilarious, though.
But I mean, like Burt Ward, from the old Batman series.
Yeah.
Wherever these guys got their acting degrees and chops and teachers, and their natural talent, and mass to the directing too, because sometimes to really get a good scene and a good read out of people and to really do it. Not a single bad casting in here. And I'll even give points.
And of course Bogart.
Oh, I mean, like, talk about a guy who's making the most out of, like, being the side job.
Armand O'Can.
Which one? For
Bogart.
Bogart, yeah.
I'm going to try and, like, anytime we mention a character and we haven't said who plays them,
apologize.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's just we don't know. So I'm going to list it off every time we mention someone.
Yeah. I mean, but, and, the extras, the people who are doing, Pirate Crew number 5,
Ray number 2.
I sometimes find myself like glancing back into the crowd scenes because you're like wanting to see who's actually, pardon me, paying attention and invested, and all of them had something going on. There's always some decent reaction. I do still feel, and this would bring us back into that the scene with Garps addressing the Marines though was probably one of the weakest. But that's not. What are you supposed to do? Stand there, be at attention, and listen to this guy talk.
Yeah.
and it wasn't a great monologue.
I will say, actually, personally, I did look at the crowds a lot, and there were everyone had stuff going on, but there were moments where it's like the reactions were kind of awkward.
Some did,
and
yeah.
like it looked like they were reacting just to react, not necessarily in a way that felt natural, I guess. But overall, it was still nice that people were doing
weirdly,
something.
Yeah.
I mean, and I
It's better that they were doing something rather than nothing.
well, to me, and this is why I think it kind of silly, because we're this not an anime adaptation, I would agree that some of the reactions are a little bit weird. If you watch One Piece, there's a lot of weird reaction audience stuff. So I kind of was just like, I can't help but feel like that's just what they've been told. Is like, okay, not just don't look happy, just look demented. You know, like. Just, but that does bring me back to, and, oh gosh, I'm gonna be all over the map on this. Was even in the anime, like the whole joke behind like Bink Sake, and when they're playing it, and everyone starts dancing, and they are clearly not even in rhythm to what is like
but
what
that's
is
more
going
of
on.
like a limit to like the animation, I think, than anything else.
But to repeatedly do it, like that's where it's kind of a like. And so to me, that was kind of the vibe I got, was times where the background didn't quite match.
Yeah.
To me, it just matched like, oh, these are just like, like even one of them, like the Captain Alvida, who's the toughest, meanest, Captain Alvida, and then it's almost like half of them said it, and then the other Captain Alvida, like, oh crap, she was addressing us.
Who is the most powerful pirate on the seas?
Captain Alvida! Captain Alvida!
And then it was like,
I was tweeting her out.
like, shoot, that meant me. I thought she was just yelling at the new guy, whatever. And then of course, didn't hear you, Kobe, and suddenly you realize, like, oh yeah, Kobe didn't say it with all of them. Mm-hmm. Even the ones who were late, she didn't shoo them out, because they were late, but they did get to the party. But yeah, so, that being going in, choreography, though, for fighting, and we did talk about this a little, I think, in the last episode, generally fairly good as far as taking panels from the manga and recreating them in ways that were dynamic and not foolish looking. Hilariously, in the trailer, one of the moves that to me looked the worst was from the final episode, with Sanji doing the side glide-in kick. It looked so weird.
It did.
And I was very concerned that all the choreography was going to end up looking like that. Mm-hmm. And actually, that was probably one of the weakest moments.
Because the moment where he just, like, goes to kick and literally stops midair and kind of almost like teleports down.
Well, it's like the and then down.
It was like, so, that was weird, but still funny.
I mean,
Alvida was played by, and I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher the name here, Elia Israelius Paulino.
Yeah.
So I hope I didn't butcher that too bad. She was great. Loved Alvida.
Glad to see, of course, that they're keeping to the manga on the return. Clearly no devil fruit yet, but
indeed.
But yeah, I guess choreography.
If we're moving in choreography,
if you guys didn't have it, I didn't
have anything in particular. Moving into choreography, other than that, there was nothing that I felt was like really bad. Like the sword scenes were great.
I have no complaint of the actual acting of the choreography. Sometimes the editing with the choreography felt a little rushed.
Yeah, but the editing overall was kind of wonky in places.
Yeah,
especially
it was just more
Kobe.
noticeable in the combat scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, talking about combat, the CGI for like Luffy's attacks were
look good.
Gatling was insane.
Wow.
And I don't know why it didn't occur to me that it was going to happen, because I was just waiting for the axe.
He's just so blinded by, where's the axe?
Where's the axe? That Gatling hit me like a truck. Never mind, this is what I want to say. Or like a Gatling. And I was surprised. I was like, this is awesome.
This feels like a finisher in the anime.
It does. And overall, I'm not disappointed with any of the fight scenes. I will say I was hoping for a little bit more inspiration from the anime and manga on some of the stuff. But I understand a lot of it had to be streamlined for the purposes of cutting it down to 8 episodes. We kind of talked about it a little bit here and there throughout the season while we were discussing it. But the sort of muted acting on behalf of
Certain
a number
scenes
of scenes and certain actors, which, again, don't know if that was an actor choice, director choice, Oda choice, whatever.
Producer choice.
Yeah. But it did kind of take away. A lot of times they talked too quietly. There were moments where it was like everyone was kind of a flat mask, which didn't necessarily not work. But it was like...
It was just a very odd choice.
Yeah. And so, again, no disrespect to any of the actors. Everyone was great. It's just... those were some moments that I felt could have... like, there were moments where it really felt like we could use some emotion. That being said, the parts that were meant to be dramatic and emotional, those did hit. And
yes.
Like...
Usually,
Zoro making the promise.
Yes.
Nami crying and asking for help.
Like, those were the two big moments I was waiting for, and I was like, please, if you guys emote anywhere...
do it now.
Please. And I was so happy to see Zoro's. Because I was like, don't do... It's important that Zoro cries here. Because Zoro, as a character, already has a very limited range of emotions. And to show that much vulnerability really indicates his, like, burgeoning trust in Luffy and the crew as a whole.
Yeah.
And, like, how much he's willing to do for the crew. And so I'm glad that the actor, by the name of... Makenyu Arata did actually cried. I saw him tearing up and his voice cracking. I was like, fantastic.
Yeah, and even him grabbing the side of the bandana as he was, which was from the manga. Oh, looks so good.
I'll never lose again.
It was nice to have those parallels. I understand the need as a format to distance yourself from the source material to a degree, so people recognize that you are your own thing. And while yes, you're drawing from an inspiration, this is technically a different experience. But it's still nice to see those moments of very clear inspiration. You know, the iconic scenes of, like, you know, when he's putting the hat on Nami and they're walking towards Arlong Park and all that.
Editing wise and storyline wise, I was getting my chief one was, can I get something from Kobe other than
yeah.
I mean he does a wonderful job playing a nervous, you know,
new
recruit, new green, but oh my word, it started to become just like, is this all he's going to do the whole series? Is just, and it was kind of funny because we start to get Garp trying to go like, no man, man up, like get your spine, and then like 30 seconds after that he's back to and I'm like, just,
and while we weren't expecting a light
all
switch
at once,
change,
you know, but
like, it was like every time we were starting to see progress, we got a severe regression.
Yeah, or, you know, again, like, no, sir, I am the police. No, sir, I am the butler. Good day. And he's just...
It's the sound of the police.
And then he's just like, oh, he told me no.
It's the
like, what do I do?
Whoops.
Like, you're the Marines.
You're a Marine. You have the authority. Just bust down the door.
Yeah, like, you know.
Now sometimes they overuse that authority.
Yes, very much
true.
so.
But it felt weird for a kid who's been like, I want to be a Marine, and then to just be like, oh no, now I
not only
know.
that, it was weird that no one else in the squad of 4 people that he was with spoke up and went, no. Because there were two people behind them that I think were more experienced.
Well, and that's, I guess, the joke is if you're the lieutenant, but I guess this goes into world building. Is like if you're a lieutenant and they go like, you're being led by this new cadet. Okay, I don't question Garp. Sure, Garp must have a reason. Sure, I'm gonna follow this kid. No, sir, I'm the butler. Good night. That's
Really?
it, kid.
Okay.
Not to question Garp, but we have a, so yeah, there's kind of that moment of like, I felt like that was just some poor, okay, so this is my other critique. The entire, now that if you're watching this, obviously spoiler alerts to the entire series you've just watched, but to have Garp have gone through all of this as a test to go like, I just wanted to make sure you wanted it, Luffy. And I'm like,
you did hear all the other times.
Like every other thing he's done, clearly he didn't care. Like he has not cared before, and he's not going to start caring now. But it puts such a I mean, I am grateful for that ending because it makes sense as to why Garp was still treating him with kid gloves. Otherwise, boy, this is a highly watered down Garp. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it was kind of like we had nothing better to do than follow your grandson to test him? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, it just kind of was a little bit...
I mean, he kind of did that in the anime/manga, too. He did kind of treat him with kid gloves whenever he met back up with him, finally. But
yeah, but it was so much later. This just felt like,
Again, that's
like,
another problem with the early reveal and all that. But I think I can kind of excuse the Garp thing to a degree in that he may have only said that because I think in addition to him coming to beat up Luffy, I think he wanted to maybe see his resolve after he's faced all these adversities and whatnot.
I mean, it could be. I admit, and this is just again me speaking on my critique of the storyline, is Shonen Protag syndrome. As somebody who comes from a very we strategize kind of mindset, as you plan out your ideas, I am all for willpower. And I understand, especially in One Piece, that literally the will of D, the ability to change, and hockey is willpower. I'm fine with that. Do not misunderstand. But when you have a character who's like, I'm gonna fulfill my dream, and literally runs off against the thing literally 100 times stronger than them, and they're allowed, and I do mean allowed, to continue on that course just because people are interested in seeing where you go, you kind of need to establish that, and this is, again, my speaking about shonens in general. Like, Naruto, like, I'm going to be Hokage, and because of that, he runs headlong into, an opponent who literally could kill him in a half second, but his teacher will save his butt because, oh crap, I'm his teacher and he can't get it killed now. But it doesn't teach them the lesson, hey, you're still mortal. Luffy, by proxy, because of his devil fruit, makes him so resistant to so many damages that this notion of, like, nothing can stop me! You're almost like, you kind of wish there was a humbling moment of, like, oh crap, maybe don't charge the armada. Like, and I think that is why it's funny that he does talk about moments where he's like, we need a plan, but Luffy is also the type of moron to literally just be like, we can take him, guys! So it's this weird, when does the brain cell light kick on? And he suddenly goes...
These two brain cells knock together.
Yeah, and they suddenly get a spark, and it catches fire, and the smoke comes out.
And speaking of that, speaking of Luffy's brain cells kicking together, I appreciate what they did with Luffy in this, and they made him a little bit more, and I guess they kind of had to by nature of trying to make it a more realistic portrayal, but they made him more realistic as a human being. He's not just the, like, smiling and everything, not paying attention, dumb guy.
Yeah.
But, going into...
But they, like we kind of mentioned when we first saw it is that he is very much a live in not just the moment but the second.
Yes. But that being said, is they kind of took away a moment from Luffy that is one of my favorites in the anime and manga. When he enters or gets knocked into Nami's map making room.
Oh yeah.
And what I love is it's a moment where you get to see that Luffy isn't an idiot.
Yeah.
He isn't just a dumb guy who always had long charges and this stuff. He can recognize things, and when he goes in there, he recognizes, this is essentially a torture chamber for Nami.
You keep jabbering on about how much better fishmen are and how much you need those sea charts. I don't understand anything about that stuff, but I finally figured out how to save her. This room isn't anything but her jail cell. There's only one way for Nami to escape. I've got to tear this place apart.
But it's where she's been locked up and forced to do all this crap, and he didn't need anyone to tell him that because he could read the writing on the wall. And I wasn't a big fan of them taking that away from him in this by having it, and also it felt kind of insulting to us as well.
What? I wasn't smart enough to figure that out.
Yeah, so it was kind of spoon-fed.
We have to. Well, we do have to assume
it was, but
as
I
our-
also I can at least appreciate the way that they did do it. Yeah, it was a little spoon feeding, but they did in the way of that. This is Arlong bragging about it.
No, Nami did it. Nami explained. Do you remember? Nami was sitting there explaining how she was locked up and she wasn't released until she was 12. So if it was Arlong bragging, fine. But no, this was Nami literally straight up.
Sorry, I was thinking about the later part.
No, you're good. But no, that's what I had a problem with was Nami kind of spoon feeding it to Luffy, and therefore us, the audience, when it's like we know, even if I didn't read the anime or read the manga, watch the anime,
and we had that brief flashback with her with the manacle on, so. She didn't need to say that she had those on for a while. We could tell that she did.
Yeah. And using that to lead into the other changes. Overall, I understand some of the choices they had to make for the purposes of streamlining. And while as much fun as it was seeing Garp this much and watching him interact with the the world of the East Blue and whatnot, I think they wouldn't have had to streamline so much if they just didn't do the Garp Kobe B story. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It was fun, don't get me wrong, but I wonder how much more could they have done and been more faithful to the source material had they just not opted for a
B plot.
A B plot for whatever reason.
And again, to have it all come down to, I was just chasing him to test him. Okay, he's kind of being tested by literally life.
Because there was so many moments that, we could have had the Don Krieg fight, I think.
Yeah.
If we had not had the B story going on, I think there would have been plenty of time for it. Because we even had Geen. It's why? Why? You know what? I hadn't even thought about that till now. Why did Geen show up? What was the point? He literally had no point except to spout what everyone else was about how dangerous the Grand Line is. He served essentially no function, which sucks because Geen is a fan favorite in the community. Even though he was just in that one arc, everyone's always like, "Oh, Geen's coming back! Can't wait for Geen to be the secret warlord or something, stuff like that."
He was still essential because he did allow Luffy to see Sanji's kindness.
That's true. But at that point,
it could have been any person.
Yeah, if you can, it's one of those things where it's like. I don't know. It's a weird dichotomy because now I'm about to complain about not including characters for the reasoning of if it doesn't matter, include. But no, we kind of talked about that. Just
you have to, and this is something.
It's the balance point of what do you include because it's necessary, and what do you exclude because it's superfluous.
Well, a lot of people in film, and this is kind of the thing now, where we have reached a point where now every movie seems to be 3 hours long almost. And there's a term, and it's basically that you're fighting for your time on screen. And if you do not, almost nowadays, if you don't advance the story, it's seen as superfluous and can't be used. That being said,
this is a show format.
True, but you're still fighting for the time. And almost everything did continue the story that they clearly put the emphasis on.
Mm-hmm. And
that being said, a B plot, that's where they chose to put their, attention.
Their effort,
so, unfortunately, yeah.
Okay.
But
a few more things. I know I talked about it. One more thing. A few more things about the changes, because I talked about them and we made jokes and I've had my. I am a little bit irritated at some of the cosmetic changes that are notorious aspects of these characters' physical appearance. Like, all joking aside, it to me does not make sense. I feel there is no reasonable excuse for Usopp not to have his long nose and Sanji's eyebrows. I'm sorry, but they have already established several characters who wear prosthetics for quite a while, including Buggy, who has it the whole season. So,
well, I would present, and again, I know we touched on it a little bit, but now since we have a little bit more of the time, I'm gonna kind of address this a little bit. There might have been some concern with giving a person of color a very potentially negative appearance factor.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, by that standard, they didn't do it to Usopp or his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Not the dad.
His mom.
His mom. Which might have been something that could have been a concern. The other thing I will go into, and this is especially as a heavier set individual, Oda has a thing about every size under the sun when it comes to, like, the corpulency or fat of characters. Alvida, definitely. Lucky Roo, clearly being somebody that normally would barely fit in a recliner.
Yeah.
But do you grab an actor and put them in that big of a fat suit? Do you grab an actor and make them CG into literally something that size? Garp is towering in the show.
A big old triangle.
Literally a triangle.
And that sort of stuff I can understand. But these were small things. You're talking about having to fully equip someone in bodysuits or CGI. These were
it's
pretty small things.
But it would be their distinctive characteristic.
Exactly.
So if you're gonna say, like, well, so and so needs his nose and he needs his eyebrows, why are those needed but not a fat suit for Lucky Roo?
Because at the very least, these are main characters. These are the main cast, and like the others, fine, because you're going to have to do that stuff in general for the show, like sizing things. It's going to be awkward and weird.
Kuba. Kuba.
I mean, but that's the thing, is out of the characters we've seen so far, they've actually made them realistically sized.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't their features be realistic?
Because we've had unrealistic features. We've had a guy who literally has a metal plate screwed into his jaw and an axe embedded into his arm.
Yeah, but even that was made far more realistic sized as opposed to what it was.
Yeah, but still, it is an unrealistic component of their appearance.
I'll meet you halfway on this, Chris.
Sorry, my back's hurting for some reason.
Yeah. They could have done a little bit more with Usopp and Sanji, but maybe have it there but tone it down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just give a little bit to have Usopp's nose be like inch longer.
Yeah, like I'm
And
not
as
talking
opposed
about
to,
it doesn't have to
like-
be out here, but even if they if they had just come out a little bit and made it very clear that it's like cylindrical, like clearly not a real nose and not meant to be any sort of
And Sanji, no, his eyebrow didn't need to swirl up over a quarter of his forehead,
but
but
a little bit.
but just have it curl at the tip of it.
Because it's like y'all were willing to dye Zoro's hair green, but you can't get an eyebrow pencil and just fine. The nose, fine. If we're saying that's too hard or whatever, fine. The eyebrow is literally grabbing a pencil and there's no fine. The nose, whatever. If we can't agree on that, I think we can at least agree that the eyebrow thing there is no point to not having it, because it's again a key aspect of its physical appearance, and also one of the main points for Zoro's insulting back at him. I don't know.
Right.
It's little things, but to me are, and I think just people in general, they're key aspects of their physical appearance, like I keep saying. And I hate to be nitpicky about it. I hate that I'm focusing so much, but it really does. I don't know why it bothers me that they didn't go to that minimum amount of effort to bring these characters to life. I think thinking about it, that's kind of what it feels like to me. Is that it's cool that you did the outfits. You got great cast. Again, fantastic casting for the choices of actors, but just I don't know. It was that last little bit to put the bow on top of these characters, and just couldn't be bothered, I guess.
You make it sound like there was somebody who was just some guy sitting back in a chair. Screw the fans.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna do it.
And that's over dramatizing it, but it's just something that kind of bothered me. Otherwise, fantastic, and I loved it overall. I don't. And then the absence of Hachan again. I don't know why. I guess maybe the tentacle arms might have been too much.
Yeah, I think they used the majority of their CG budget where they could for Buggy and Luffy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Buggy's CGI was so great.
Yeah, and and much like I mentioned in the actual episode, they might come back around and work him back in.
Yeah.
It won't be manga accurate, but it will be accurate enough that and hopefully if we reach that far, they'll have enough of a budget to actually give them the proper multi-arms.
So how far are you on your episode list?
My episode list is done.
You're doing your Straw Hat list now?
Yes, I'm almost done with the Straw Hat.
Okay.
Well, how about me and Chris name our episodes? Then you can.
We can all do our episodes, but while you're...
And then we'll loop around to give you more time for your characters.
So we can do we'll start with best and most and least favorite. I don't want to say worst. I don't like the connotation of the word worst. But favorite to least favorite episode. We'll do favorite, then least favorite, and then we can each kind of go down our list. Or
I thought we would start bottom and work up. That'll
start bottom, work up.
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, because then you again end on the high note. So
well, my least favorite was episode 6, I think.
Chef and Shoreboy.
Yeah.
Same. Actually, 100% same for me.
Tim, what was your least favorite?
Number 7.
Number 7.
The girl with the
sawfish tattoo. That's fair. For me, I think it was because 6 was such a contrast to 5 or...
I did think of one other thing we could do instead of, because then we're obviously all going to have a different low and high and up.
Yeah.
Was go through each episode and then say where we ranked it.
Oh, okay.
We could do that. Sorry, I just thought of that. I didn't think of that before.
Okay, yeah, that works.
I don't remember the numbers of all the episodes, but I have the title list, so...
I mean, we literally have it right here.
Ah, okay, there we go.
So where did my pencil go?
Now that I have the
pencil...
Anyway.
Alright, so, first episode, Romance Dawn, in which we meet Luffy, Kobe,
the beginning of our
Alvida.
story. So for me, Romance Dawn hit just slightly to the lower half. It hit number 5 for me. How about you guys?
It hit number 6 for me.
Well, mine's a sharp contrast. Mine was number 2.
Ooh, really, really liked it, huh?
Yeah, I think... sorry. Comparatively, it was just... It filled me with that nostalgia and, like, excitement of watching One Piece again for the first time.
Okay.
And
I
getting
admit it
to
was
see
really
it come
good.
to life.
I admit it was really good. I just liked some of the other episodes a lot better.
Yeah,
That's fair.
I fell into kind of the same. I had to go into this with like there were. I knew my top favorite, and I knew my least, and then everything else was kind of like compare this to this one.
Same.
And there were sometimes small details that would get somebody just slightly ahead.
Mm-hmm.
For me, with Romance Dawn, it does a fantastic job of drawing you in. It does a good job of recreating. It's a great origin story that doesn't get drawn out super duper long. The weakness for me in that one does kind of stem from just the weakness of the story pacing in general.
That's fair.
And that's not, it's just, but, when you're like, okay, here's everybody, what's your name, what's your name, what's your thing, okay, we gotta go. And that's kind of, I think, the only reason for me that it didn't rank better. But I do think, again, for being number 5 out of a list of 8, but it's not, it's like, the lower half is terrible. It's just one of those I had to pick.
I think the same.
Okay, episode 2, The Man in the Straw Hat.
Interestingly for me, that one hit 3rd.
Okay.
Chris?
Mine was 4th, actually.
Appropriately, mine was 2nd for that.
Okay.
Oh.
So we thought that was an above average episode.
And for me, that primarily came from Buggy.
That's fair. You know what?
I mean, I agree. It was,
I might change mine and make that 3rd for me as well. Because Buggy was just so great.
I mean, especially after, to start to get into more of a villain than Axe Hand, who just, is rather two-dimensional.
Yeah, very basic.
But also, between line delivery, between seeing that this becomes for what we're watching, this is the first time that the Straw Hats have a threat. This is the first time that we see them having to actually really
struggle.
Become a crew. The first time against Axe Hand, it's just kind of a circumstances threw us here. So, yeah, I did think that it worked a bit better in that respects than, say, Man in the Straw Hat, which to me was just, okay, knock Alvida off a boat and we're done.
You mean the
Romance Dawn. Romance Dawn. Knock someone off the boat. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I already said Buggy's a great presentation in that episode. And he's indicative of the positive changes that were made for this adaptation. Because his whole thing wasn't, like, 90% of it was not like what was in the manga.
Yeah.
But it still fit Buggy so perfectly.
Because early Buggy was a threat. Early Buggy was scary. Like, he was kind of the first, like, real challenge the Straw Hats faced.
He is the one who does nearly get Luffy executed. I mean, like, he's,
Like, and Buggy does become... Even, like,
later,
even after the first encounter, Buggy becomes sort of a joke. But up until they hit the Grand Line, he is an actual threat.
And kind of going into a little bit of spoiler as far as manga stuff goes, the knowledge that, and I've made this comparison before, that he's like King from One Punch Man, where, like, the person who is a complete, like, fraud, but only certain people know it and everybody else thinks they're something, and that's kind of what Buggy has become. But what I'm curious about, and not that I think he's going to have the same fate as this, but to make a parallel to Lord of the Rings, when they're like, Gollum, and Gandalf is like, I feel he has a bigger part to play. I don't know what it is, but he has a bigger part. And I can't help but feel like right now that's the thing with Buggy. Buggy is going to somehow tip the balance or help the Straw Hats where no one else is gonna have been able to. I don't know what it is yet, and I hope I'm correct.
It won't be on purpose.
It probably won't. But
he'll probably be trying to kill them and accidentally fail and save them.
I mean,
or stabs Blackbeard.
I mean, well, I mean, it could also even be a moment where, like, depending, I mean, I don't know, it could be a moment where, like, Luffy's gonna get taken down and Buggy takes the hit for him because he just goes, no, you know what, like, given everything I've been through by now, so I don't know, but I am curious, but that's why I have to say, the actor, again, playing a guy that I'm already seeing futures of and going, I'm keen to see your
portrayal.
We will be watching your career with great interest.
Yes, thank you, good quote.
Thank you.
All right, episode 3.
Tell No Tales. That was 7 for me.
That was actually 7 for me as well.
You know, it was weird. It started super low for me. And then it kept managing to, like, ooch up ahead of other stuff. And I was like, how is this not lower? Because I thought it was going to be low. I ended up with it at, like, 4. But it was one that when I first reflected on the episode, my knee-jerk reaction was, I didn't like this. And
I don't even really remember most of it, to be honest.
I think my key thing why I ranked it so low is because of just how much
setup.
How much I don't like Kuro's plan.
I mean, yeah.
And it's done well. It's intentional, but he is such a snot. I'm like, all right.
Did I get?
I'm waiting for you to betray her because even if I didn't know it, I'm expecting you to betray her because you're that.
So you guys had this for 7?
Yeah.
No, I got mine reversed. I'm thinking swap Pirates Are Coming until I got my things for so 7 actually also.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so sorry.
I think for me, part of the reason this ranks so low is because I like Usopp a lot as a character, but like I feel like his arc needed to have more time. I think it takes a bit to endear Usopp to us. And this
maybe
felt
with
like
a group of rapscallion kids to follow him around.
This felt like one of the ones they shouldn't have streamlined, and I feel like this is one of the storylines that suffered for it.
So much the same as you. Sorry, now that I'm on the right, I got my episodes correct. Yeah, for one, for anybody who knows me, I don't like liars. It is one of the biggest things that ticks me off, which is why I generally do not like Usopp, which, surprise, surprise, guess who ranks kind of low on my crew list later. Weirdly, anyway. But, so in this case, the problem is, of course, again, we have a chronic liar who's been doing this for years, and then, of course, to watch them sobbing, like, why does no one believe me? Gee, I wonder. Like, and it's kind of yeah, we get it. There is a innocent person dying, but maybe if you weren't a horrible liar, this wouldn't be happening.
Because he doesn't question it in the anime/manga, right? Whenever like people aren't believing it, he's not like
he's just like he knows, he acknowledges and is like, well, crap.
He has at least a moment where he's like, oh, damn.
Yeah, because the realization, like he almost would start to say, why don't you? Oh, right, shoot. Yeah. But that being said, the other thing about this episode is, again, and I do feel bad because setup episodes, you're almost feeling like you can't judge it fairly because it's just for the payoff in the next one. But this one, I mean, it's so much hovering around topics that it either felt like speed it up and let's just get to it, or draw it out and give me more details.
Yeah.
But you found this weird lukewarm middle that didn't quite work.
Yeah.
We get, like, know you don't like Kuro. Like, I'm okay with Kuro's plan. It's just I'm having to watch.
But watching him be the slow snootiness about it.
Well, it's more the matter of I'm having to watch the world's slowest party.
Oh, yeah.
Not just the villain, but then like the whole like waiting for the foot to drop. Like, okay, and then like. Yes, I'd like to speak to Miss Barry. You know, how people complain about the prequels in Star Wars, that they're like, it got too political. And it almost felt like this was just, okay, I'm gonna get us a ship. How is he gonna get us a ship? We have no money. Which seems to be the other, like, ever-present question no one asks, which is, who has money in the Straw Hats?
If anyone, Nami does.
Well, but now, I mean, but yeah. So, anyway, that was kind of the downside to that for me.
Well, that being said, episode 4.
Funny enough, ranked number 4 for me.
For me, it was rank 5. Not because I liked it so much, but because I liked others less.
To me, this was also 4. 4 for 4. I like that we got another a prolonged fight scene.
Yes.
Series of fight scenes.
And using the mansion the way they did in the fight works so well. It gave
at least had some fun fights.
It gave it a very horror movie feel to it. Which Kuro, when he does actually go on an offense, is a creepy almost slasher villain. And no offense to the manga, but having all the fight happen on a short slope was kind of like the least interesting place the fight could happen. Whereas this, inside the mansion with all the different routes to go around, all the different things to interact with, it just amped up that tension.
Yeah, it makes sense. Episode 5.
That was my number 1.
Also,
Yes.
It was just, honestly, it was the best one.
It was a combination between Mihawk and just seeing the Baratier in the lively restaurant setting.
Yeah, it had the best glow up of any setting that we had seen in the series up to this point. It was what Baratier should have been, in my opinion, and it was great to see it come to life. Getting to see some cool characters and all this stuff and expanding on... It helped expand on the world. Because I think that's the first time we see a Fishman.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was... Well, and we think, too, is, like, the lead in, the appreciation there. And it's the first time we start to get a Straw Hat tag-along that doesn't feel like, yeah, why the hell not? I have nothing better to do. Yeah. Which, at the start, Zoro almost has the, why the hell not? And Nami has the, I'm here to manipulate them. So, Sanji is the first one to show up who we see can have a career, who could be doing anything, and then chooses, I'm going to go with you. The acting, the portrayal, of course, everybody loves good food, so hey, here we go. Zeph, well acted. Yeah. And it's so, I know they get into it more in the following episode, but the factor that we have such a, I love you and I can't abandon you. No, I love you and that's why I can't force you to stay. Which
is a great dynamic between the parent and child.
Yes, it's so unique, and I mean it's hilarious because we compare that as the parallel to what his actual parentage is, and how it is the complete opposite. So I do think that is such a beautiful poignancy, and I thought it was very well acted. The only thing I had really an issue on was I wish we had more going on in the kitchen. Yeah. But that was the worst I could come up with. But and of course, love me some Mihawk.
Oh yes. That whole scene of him taking down Creek.
Gosh, that was so good. What? All right, episode 6.
That is my number 5.
Now, unfortunately for me, this is the one that really dropped. This one I have as my last.
Same. This is my last on my list.
Mm.
While it was just, I think for me, one, too much of a departure from the source material.
Yeah.
Two, it just kind of dragged. I mean, we get like Sanji's backstory, which is always heart wrenching, but other than that, it just felt like such a dragging episode. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah.
It just felt like it weighed itself down.
I agree. It could have been a lot better, which is why it's at my number 5. But again, for the idea of that they had to change some things for that adaptation, at least the changes they made flowed together and did not make sense. You know.
Mm-hmm. I don't get me wrong. Like I said, I mentioned before when we were watching the episode. I did like in a weird way that that the fishermen showed up, because it's cool to see them interacting
with other parts,
the East Blue like they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
But in terms of just again, it's hard to take away my lens of looking at it from the perspective of an anime watcher / manga reader and as an adaptation of that material. And to be honest, you can't. It wouldn't make sense to look at it without that lens.
Yeah.
Because it is an adaptation. This is not an original work. It is an adaptation of an already existing work. And while, yes, it tries to make a departure, it is still based on that. And so you have a right to judge based on how close it is to the source material.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But that being said, episode number 7.
That'd be my last.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah.
It ranked low for me. It was 6.
Me too. Yeah, mine was also 6.
Yeah. I think it's the case of it's not that it was a bad episode, but much like Tell No Tales, it was all lead up and set up and waiting for the actual payoff in the following episode.
Yeah. And, there's only so much dour you can kind of stomach for one whole episode of, no, she's evil. I refuse to believe it. No, I'm evil. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's evil. Never! It was, and I know that's what you need, but it does, again, it feels like, we know it's not going to happen. We know they're not going to turn around and go, oh, she's actually evil? Well, I guess we should leave. Like, you know what's going to happen, even if you haven't watched this show.
Yeah.
Or read the manga. But it is just one of those, like, yeah, okay. Like, and yes, much the same as, like, oh, we get this origin story. Much the same as what we ran into with
Usopp.
With Usopp and with the background on Sanji. It felt like it just kind of stays a little too long.
And again, I think it suffers from the same issues that I had with Syrup Village. It is not an arc that should have been streamlined. Too much of it depended on the build-up.
I mean, yeah.
I feel like.
Although...
and the establishment of, like, getting to explore Nami's background, setting all this up, and the amount of things that changed in between. But I think, like you said, it was mainly the build-up episode in which they have to use all of this episode to build up to the payoff.
Yeah.
Episode 8.
That's my number 3.
2 for me.
That was originally my number 3, but I swapped 2 to be my number 3. Now it's technically my 4. But I still loved it. It was awesome. Yeah. It felt like a great conclusion.
Yeah.
We talked about the weak spots in it already earlier, but overall, a good, satisfying conclusion if they choose to stop the series here.
Yeah.
Yes. And if they do choose to continue on from here, it is a great milestone point.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping at the end for, as cool as it was for the smoker, I was hoping almost for like a shadowed outline and a me.
Oh, I don't know. A part of me, and I know it was a stretch, but just what I kind of was not a particular villain, but to have like a report back to like headquarters and either maybe an outline of like Son Goku just to hint at. But then the other thought I had was if it was like then you had like outlines of wanted posters or shadows of the rest of the bad generation.
Yes.
Like the idea that like, you know, sir, this young Straw Hat is becoming a problem, and then like add him to the list, and then you'd see like a Panagon.
Oh, that
would have been like I was
That
kind of
would've been
hoping
so
like
cool.
you know
That would have been awesome,
like,
actually.
You know, and then you could have all of them up beside each other, and even if you don't like get a close up, or they could have done the thing they've done, which is the wanted poster like zoom out, and then you see the actual actor, and then you could show like Bege and you know Kid, all them. Just like
would have been so cool.
That was I was like, I'm not gonna get it. But when you were like, maybe is there a post credit? And I was like, that is the only thing I would be like, ugh. But
yeah, that was our episode tier list, I guess, essentially. Not even really a list, but tier list. I mean, but like a favorite to least favorite. Go ahead and tell us in the comments what your favorite and least favorite episodes were from this season.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, just real quick recap so we don't end on that, just so we have a little bit. Overall, fantastic. Everyone did a fantastic job on this show. And I hope you guys were watching along with us. If you haven't actually sat down and watched it, what are you doing? Go watch it. And, you know, check out the source material. It's fantastic. So, good show to everyone involved.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? For those of you who may have been like sitting on it, go like, 1,000+ chapters or 800+ episodes, I don't know. Watch this. Watch this. Well, I was going to say first, watch this, see what you think, and then maybe let this test your interest if you want to go and give the anime a try.
And if you're still daunted about the length of the series, just one bite at a time. It took me a long while because I didn't get started with the series until much later, but I eventually got caught up.
And now you can too, with our new service package at $39.99.
Where Chris will read the manga chapter to you in descriptions.
Just really bad descriptions, like I'm making up on the spot.
Panel 4, Frankie looks to be working on something.
His nipples are lighting up. No, that's great. I'm like, I've got like I don't know, like a weird accent of like Brooklyn or Boston or something like that, and I'm just like eating a sandwich halfway through. Oh, that's crazy. He's like, he's shooting a bunch of his arms out. It's, oh my god.
All right. Well, we'll catch you guys later. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.